So to discuss further, I'm inviting the leader of Mercer Marsh Benefits Malaysia himself, Mr. Ho Mun Kiat, joining me in the studio this morning. Thank you so much for taking time. Based on what I presented earlier, can you give some of your takes on what have been found or identified on the top 3 risks in Asia?
Yep, certainly. I think you have rightly pointed out where from the risk report that we have discovered recently, that the rising healthcare costs is an increasing issues that we are facing, not just globally, as you can see from the chart, and also in Asia, but also I wanted to highlight in Malaysia as well. We have seen the cost has been increasing very much, even from the last report we have done in 2022 compared to the report in 2024, where a lot of organizations in Malaysia are facing the rising of the healthcare costs impacting their employee benefits program. Why is this important? Because if you look at most organizations in Malaysia, the healthcare comprises or dominates a big chunk of the employee benefits. So if organizations are spending a lot on the healthcare, then that's where, that's putting a lot of burden in terms of cost and investment for the businesses. That's right.
Like you mentioned earlier, the increasing health and benefit costs is being the top concern. So how can we actually balance between cost management for the employers and also providing adequate health and also well-being support to employees at the same time?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So we have got a lot of inquiries from our clients as well, asking us, so how do we combat this? How do we manage the rising costs? And, the simple and traditional way, it's obviously, just to get an insurance policy, negotiate very hard with insurance companies and see how they can get a better cost to cover medical expenses. But I think over a long period of time, how do you make it more sustainable is really to look internally within your organizations. What are the factors that is driving the claim costs in your organizations? Where is it coming from? Who is it coming from? That's one. And then to look at how do you then repurpose it? How do you look at your benefit plans? Are they engaging your employees? Which are the areas that you need to focus on to mitigate future costs that you're seeing? So one of those things that we do a lot with our clients is to go through analytics and help clients to identify what are the cost drivers, looking at your plan designs and see how you can make it more cost sustainability and mitigating some of the costs that we will see that will impact your overall cost surge in the coming years.
That's the top 3 risks identified, or top concerns that's happening right now in Malaysia, in Asia, and that includes Malaysia as well for 2024. But we're going to go to the second page, which shows the risk shifts for in 2022 and in 2024. We can see that there are some changes in colors based on the risk pillar that I mentioned earlier. But this is not based on rank, right? No. This is not based on 1, 2, or 3, but this just shows the difference between these 2 years, 2022 and 2024. And it shows that during 2022, it's focused more on the current situation, such as pandemics and also health situation, like environment, changing nature of work. And the shift towards 2024 is more towards mental health. That's and right. Also labor shortages, tech skills shortages, especially that we have the technological advancements right now. We have AI and whatnot.
That's right.
So can you actually help us understand more about the changes of risk in 2022 and 2024?
Right, great questions. I think one of the things that we saw very much in 2024 report, especially coming from the Malaysian data that we saw, is the mental health deterioration. The burnout rates that we are seeing across organization, it's quite alarming. So a lot of data that we're seeing that employees are feeling burnout, they're feeling very stressful, they're feeling that, they needed a break. Work-life balance is one of those things that a lot of employees are calling out. Is there a stop to work? Yeah. So this is one of those things that we see that it's on a rise. And one of those things we also see is employees look up to employers for guidance. Right, you can't blame them, right? They spend 9 to 5 at work, Mondays to Fridays at the workplace. They look up to employers for policies, for guidance, and also for well-being as well. So I think employers play a very important role to guide employees how to manage their mental health, their stress at work. And I feel, and one of the things that we saw in the report, less than 30% of employees see that as their role. and that's very alarming. So that's the mismatch that we see. Employees are looking up, and that the numbers are showing us that the burnout rates are high, but employees, on the other hand, only less than 30% see that as a prominent role. And if you look out, most employers, at least in the urban area, the most they do is they just put an employee assistance program, a phone number that you can contact when you're stressed and that we need to speak to someone. But frankly, how many employees do reach out to the line? Because mental health is a stigma in Asia. You can't tell your employers that, I'm not feeling well, that I'm not sleeping well, I have problems at home, I've got this, right? So what do your employees think of you? I may be bypassed and promotion, they may think of getting rid of me and things. So that culture, in that itself, employees don't have that space to voice it out. So I think that's where we feel from the report, that's where we also want to advocate to our clients, is we need to look a lot more into the well-being of employees, especially on the mental health issues.
And it doesn't show here actually, but during in the full report, it shows that in 2022, the mental health deterioration is at the level or rank 20th, ranked 20th, but in 2024 it is ranked 6th, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And that's something, the kind of gap they have to bridge between these two and years to come.
Yep.
So I hope we can, all employers out there can actually look into this very seriously. But that's on the top 10 risks in Asia and the shift towards 22 and 24. But right now we want to look at collaboration between HR and risk managers. As you can see, only 99% of respondents say HR and risk functions collaborate to mitigate people risk, and those reported a great deal of collaboration are much more effective at managing people risk. However, there are still misalignment on top risk needs to be addressed between HR and risk. And it is said that risk managers are more concerned about technology and cybersecurity related risks and the impact of natural disasters, ranking them as more severe than their HR counterparts. Meanwhile, HR managers from a conventional professional standpoint are primarily focused on workforce engagement, benefits, talent attraction and retention related to rewards and benefits. So Mr. Ho, help us understand better how can actually we bridge the gap or further collaborate the relationship between HR and risk managers in an organization.
Yes. So going back to the context of how this report came to be, we sent survey results, survey questions to risk management people and HR professionals as well. And where are the focal point for the risk management people and also the HR? And that's where we saw a disparity in terms of a gap between, from the risk perspective, obviously if organizations are obviously fighting or really very careful on cybersecurity. And that's not wrong, right? I mean, data security, data breaches and all that has been very rampant. We have been seeing nowadays in the workplace. But on the other side, right, the people risk in terms of health issues, rising healthcare costs, mental health issues are also very real. And it's also one of those things that is increasing and is alarming as well, which we felt on the risk perspective on what risk managers are looking at is not within the radar. So I think it's very important to also bridge the gap so that leaders of organizations need to look at, yes, one part of the risk is very much on data security and that, but another big factor on the risk, which is the people. And we know your greatest asset apart from your business is actually your employees. And it's one area that obviously employees need to start looking at is your people risk. How are they feeling? Are they productive? How are their mental well-being? How are the benefits programs helping them to perform better, to be more productive at work? So I think this is one area which also we want to highlight from the people risk report, where there needs to be a more focus in terms of the people risk that organizations are facing, especially in Asia and Malaysia, where the focal for most risks is predominantly focused very much on the digital, the technology and the cybersecurity side.
And as we can see, the most concern on tech is China.
That's right. No secret, right?
First, no secrets, yes. First and third as well, which is include tech skill shortages and mishandling of data. But I wonder what's the data from Malaysia. I hope we can get that from the next report. But on the next page, we can see the evolution of risk blind spots. As you can see, the 2022 blind spots first is to mental health, increasing health risk protection and well-being, benefit costs, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this brings to 2024 risks right now. So what happened, Mr. Ho? How can the 2022 blind spots can actually bring to 2024 race right now? And as you can see, we also have blind spots for 2024.
That's
and
right.
How can we make sure these blind spots don't bring to another 2 or perhaps 10 years to come?
So it's a great question, right? So I think if we don't look at what is driving up these factors, right? So what is driving up mental health? What is driving up the costs that organizations are feeling? Obviously, there need to be a deep dive within an organization to see then what do we need to do to make sure when we do this in 2026 again, are we going to see the same things? And likelihood, if we don't address the root cause of this, it may be even worse because obviously, what is not being contained is obviously, it will obviously be one of the risks for most organizations. So it's very important that employers will start to look deep within your organizations because this data tells the broader picture. But what is within your organizations? What is driving up? For example, if you look at rising benefit costs, what is driving up your costs within your organizations? Is it your benefit plans? Is it coming from which area of your employees? Which segment? Is it certain risk work area that is driving up this cost? Is it ergonomics? Or is it certain areas within your work that is driving up the cost? So where is it coming from? Before then, you start looking at areas to mitigate this. So a lot needs to be done by looking deep within the organizations to see what is happening within organizations, to then start looking at steps to mitigate it, which we feel is very important. But a lot, when you look at 2022, when we just came out from the pandemic, we saw data like this happening. But then if it's not looking deep enough to address these issues, we see it coming back. It just won't go away because obviously we are not tackling the root cause that is driving up the risk that we are seeing at the moment, the issues that we're seeing at the moment.
So to all viewers, make sure the focus is now on this side, 2024 blind spots. Make sure to be aware, also be vigilant of 3 points: chronic illnesses, management or artificial intelligence, AI, also natural disasters and extreme weather. And as per, like for example, we have recent issues, sinkhole and flood, so whatnot. So again, thank you so much to Mr. Ho Mun Kiat, the leader of Mercer Marsh Benefits Malaysia. Thank you so much for helping us understand better on your report.